Royalty 101. Line of succession to the British throne. Since my last video about the British royal line of succession, there have been a few happy additions, and one sad and significant loss. Queen Elizabeth II, who died on September 8, 2022, at the age of 96. Now that her son, King Charles III, sits on the throne, let's take a look at the updated line of succession. Along the way, I'll explain how the order is determined and the titles each royal has, many of which have changed in the wake of the Queen's death. On the moment of Queen Elizabeth II's death, her heir apparent, Charles, Prince of Wales, automatically inherited the throne. He is now His Majesty King Charles III, as well as head of the Commonwealth and defender of the faith. This means that he is head of state of the 15 former British colonies which make up the Commonwealth realms, and head of the Church of England, a title King Henry VIII created for himself when he separated from the Roman Catholic Church in 1534 to marry Anne Boleyn. Charles also inherited the Royal Duchy of Lancaster, a land trust worth £534 million, which is always held by the reigning monarch. His previous titles, Duke of Cornwall and Duke of Rothesay, automatically went to the new heir to the throne, his son Prince William. The other titles Charles held, Prince of Wales and Duke of Edinburgh, which he inherited from his father in 2021, merged with the crown. The king thus has the right to hold them or grant them to others as he sees fit. More on that later. He is the third Charles to sit on the English throne, after Charles I, who reigned from 1625 until he was beheaded by his own people in 1649 following the English Civil War. His son, Charles II, was invited to restore the monarchy in 1660. Charles III is not the only King Charles in Europe at the moment. King Carl XVI Gustav has been on the throne of Sweden since 1973. When Charles became king, his wife Camilla automatically, legally became queen consort. The palace only confirmed that Camilla would use that title publicly as a formality. The law is that any wife of a man who holds a royal or peerage title has the right to use the equivalent feminine title. That is why Catherine is now Princess of Wales, Meghan is Duchess of Sussex, Sophie is Countess of Wessex, and so forth. This does not apply to the husbands of women who hold titles in their own right. The husbands of Princesses Anne, Beatrice, and Eugenie do not have titles. What determines who is in the succession? Throughout the Middle Ages, wars raged over who had the right to wear the crown. By the dawn of the 18th century, the current monarch, Queen Anne, had no living Protestant siblings, and all 17 of her children had died tragically young. As the Queen didn't have an heir, the nation faced more war over the throne. To prevent catastrophe, Parliament passed the 1701 Act of Settlement, laying down the exact rules of who could wear the crown next. 1. Only legitimate children. There have been a number of illegitimate descendants who tried or did seize the throne, including Henry VII and James, Duke of Monmouth, so they were out. 2. Spouses are not included. Several royal brides, including Eleanor of Aquitaine and Isabella of France, got a bit too close to power, and William III claimed the right to be co-monarch alongside his wife, Mary II. They were out too. 3. The monarch must be in communion with the Church of England. After centuries of bloody conflict between Protestants and Catholics, Parliament was determined to never again have a Catholic king. This rule originally barred anyone who married a Catholic from the succession as well, but the rule was changed when Queen Elizabeth II's grandson, Peter Phillips, wed Catholic Autumn Kelly in 2008. Peter would have been removed from the succession and their future children left out, but public outcry forced Parliament to modify this rule. However, we will see a few members of the royal family who converted to Catholicism and have thus been removed from the succession. 4. The order of the succession is determined by primogeniture. This ancient system gives the right of inheritance to the eldest child of the monarch. If the eldest child has died before their monarch parent, then the crown goes to the eldest child's eldest child. So, if Prince William dies before King Charles, the throne would not go to Prince Harry, but straight to Prince George. This happened when King Edward III's eldest son, Edward the Black Prince, died of dysentery on the battlefield. The king died a year later, leaving the throne to his 10-year-old grandson, King Richard II. Whenever someone in the line of succession dies, everyone behind them in line simply moves up one place. When a new royal baby is born, those behind them in line move back a place. The rank of those ahead of the person in question is never affected. If a monarch dies without any living descendants, then the crown would pass to their next eldest sibling, and then to their children. After George IV's only child, Princess Charlotte, died in childbirth, his brother inherited the throne and became King William IV. He also had no living children, so the throne went to his deceased brother Edward's only child, Queen Victoria. If a dead monarch has no living brothers, sisters, nephews, or nieces, then the crown would move up another generation until the nearest living, legitimate Protestant relative can be found. These rules determined that Queen Anne's heir was her great-grandfather James I's granddaughter, Sophie. She was the widow of the Elector of Hanover and lived in Germany. The 1701 Act of Settlement states that everyone in the succession from then on must be a legitimate Protestant descendant of Sophie of Hanover. 83-year-old Sophie died just a few weeks before Anne, so her son became King George I. For most of history, the succession was determined by male preference primogeniture. That means daughters were always in line after all of their brothers, younger or older. A daughter would only become queen if she had no living brothers, and if she had any deceased brothers, if they had no living descendants. All 8 of the queens regnant of England got their thrones by some combination of outliving their brothers or having no brothers to begin with. Henry VIII's only son was his youngest child, but he became King Edward VI at the age of 9, despite having 2 older sisters, Mary, who was 31, and Elizabeth, 14. Queen Victoria was an only child, and Queen Elizabeth II had only one sibling, a younger sister, Margaret. But just in time for the birth of Prince William's first child, the 2013 Succession to the Crown Act modernized the succession to absolute primogeniture, meaning both sons and daughters have equal right in the succession. If George had been a girl, then she would have been a future queen regnant. This change only affects royals born after October 28, 2011. Royal succession rules have been changed to absolute primogeniture not only in the UK, but also in Belgium, Denmark, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, and Sweden, with 7 out of the 10 surviving hereditary monarchies in Europe giving women an equal chance. We can expect to see many more queens regnant in the future. With the death of Queen Elizabeth II, there is now only one remaining queen in Europe. 82-year-old Queen Margaret II of Denmark. She is now also the longest reigning monarch in Europe. Her 50-year Golden Jubilee was planned for the weekend of September 10th, but was significantly scaled back out of respect for Queen Elizabeth. The British monarch is also head of state of the 15 Commonwealth realms. If they followed different succession rules, then the Commonwealth might have a number of different British royals as their head of state. A similar scenario occurred in 1837, when Queen Victoria inherited the British throne. Because her ancestor George I had been the ruler of the German state of Hanover, subsequent kings of the UK were also kings of Hanover. Their succession was agnatic, meaning women were barred from inheriting. The Hanoverian succession ignored Victoria, and her uncle Ernst August became King of Hanover, breaking the personal union between the states. However, in 2011, the Prime Ministers of the Commonwealth realms agreed unanimously to adopt the same succession rules as Britain. Therefore, as long as the Commonwealth realms remain united, they will have the same British sovereign as their head of state. Without further ado, the current line of succession to the British throne stands thus. The heir apparent to King Charles III is his eldest son, Prince William. As heir apparent, he immediately became Duke of Cornwall and Duke of Rothesay. The Duchy of Cornwall is a large land and investment portfolio established in 1337 by King Edward III to provide income for the reigning monarch's eldest son. It is currently worth $1.25 billion. On September 9th, his father created him Prince of Wales, the traditional title for the heir apparent since 1301, when Edward I put the Welsh princes' heads on spikes and gave their crown to his son. William will likely have some form of investiture ceremony similar to a coronation at some point in the future. This rite has been performed at Carnarvon Castle in the past, but there have long been mixed feelings in Wales about the title continuing to be held by a descendant of their conquerors. The will of the Welsh people will have to be surveyed to determine the future of the ceremony. William's heir and the second in line to the throne is his eldest son, George, who was born in 2013. If all goes according to plan, the next monarchs after Charles will be William V and George VII, followed by his eldest child, male or female. As George is a bit young, the next in line is his sister, Charlotte, born in 2015, followed by Louis, born in 2018. According to letters patent issued by King George V in 1917, only the eldest son of the Prince of Wales can hold the title of Prince. But Queen Elizabeth II changed the rule and granted all three of William's children the title of HRH, Prince or Princess. They were styled of Cambridge because of their father's dukedom. Now that their father is Prince of Wales, they are styled of Wales. So, George is officially His Royal Highness Prince George of Wales. In the likely event that William becomes king, Charlotte may be created Princess Royal. This title has been given to the monarch's eldest daughter since it was granted to Charles I's daughter, Mary, in 1631. However, there can only be one Princess Royal at a time, so Charlotte will have to wait for the death of the current holder, her great-aunt, Princess Anne. There have so far been 7 Princess Royals. Per tradition, William's sons will likely receive dukedoms on their wedding days. This highest of peerage titles can only be granted to or inherited by men. When Princess Anne wed in 1973, her husband was offered a peerage, but the couple declined, as they did not wish to burden their future children. So, unless the rules are changed, Charlotte's future husband may be offered a dukedom or earldom, and she could use his title, but she would not be given one of her own. If William has any more legitimate children, they would be added to the succession after Louis. But as it stands now, the line moves up one generation to his brother Prince Harry. He is 5th in line to the throne, and his children, Archie and Lillibet, are 6th and 7th. Under George V's letters patent, all male line grandchildren of the monarch are granted the title Prince or Princess. Therefore, Archie and Lillibet became a prince and princess upon the accession of their grandfather, King Charles III. As heir apparent to his father's dukedom of Sussex, Archie is entitled to use the subsidiary title Earl of Dumbarton. However, it has been reported that their parents have decided they will not use these styles as they grow up as private citizens. Someday, when Archie and Lillibet decide to marry, they will most likely have to seek the monarch's approval to do so. This rule applies to the first 6 people in the line of succession. If Charles is still king, then Archie, as 6th in line to the throne, would have to seek his grandfather's permission. If William is on the throne, the siblings would have moved up the line and both would need to seek their uncle's permission if they want to keep their places in the succession. Next, the succession moves up another generation to Charles's siblings. Second eldest is Anne, but as she was born before absolute primogeniture, she and her descendants are in the back of the line behind her younger brothers. Eighth is Prince Andrew. Because he has disgraced himself with his friendship with sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and accusations of rape leveled against him, he has been stripped of his military ranks, honors, and charity patronages, and the royal family have been distancing themselves from him. However, it would take an act of Parliament to remove his title of HRH Prince, Duke of York, or to remove him from the line of succession. After Andrew is his eldest daughter, Princess Beatrice. She has the title of princess because she is a male line grandchild of a monarch, Queen Elizabeth. Because women are barred from inheriting most peerage titles, she will not become Duchess of York when her father dies. Instead, the title will become extinct and may be reassigned to another royal family member. This title, when available, has traditionally been granted to the monarch's second son. George VI held it before his elder brother, Edward VIII, abdicated and left the throne to him. So, if Andrew dies before Prince Louis gets married, the title may go to him. There is a campaign led by the daughters of British peers to change the law, in which case Beatrice would be allowed to become Duchess of York. She is also the last person in the line of succession who is currently a Councillor of State. The council consists of the monarch's spouse and the first 4 people in the line of succession who are over the age of 21. The current councillors of state are Camilla, Queen Consort, William, Prince of Wales, Prince Harry, Prince Andrew, and Princess Beatrice. The councillors of state were first created by King George V. They may be called on to perform royal functions if the monarch is unable to do so because of illness or absence from the country. Councillors of State were last appointed to carry out the state opening of Parliament in 2022 in place of the aging Queen. In 2021, Beatrice gave birth to a daughter, Sienna, who is 10th in the line of succession. Because she is a great-grandchild of a monarch, but not a grandchild, she is not a princess. The sons and daughters of a prince, duke, or earl are called lord or lady, but as Sienna's father does not hold a peerage title, she is not a lady either. Prince Andrew's second daughter, Eugenie, is 11th in line, and her son, August Philip, born in 2021, is 12th. In 13th place is the Queen's youngest child, Prince Edward. Rather than being created a duke upon his marriage, he was granted the lower title, Earl of Wessex. It was the Queen's wish that he eventually be granted his father's title, Duke of Edinburgh. When Prince Philip died in 2021, Charles inherited the title as his eldest son. Now that he is king, the title has merged with the crown and may be granted by the sovereign to someone else. It has not yet been announced if Charles will fulfill his parents' wishes and grant this title to his brother. Edward's 2 children are Lady Louise and James Viscount Severn. Because both were born before absolute primogeniture, James is ahead of Louise. He holds his father's subsidiary title, Viscount Severn, and Louise is styled Lady because she is the daughter of an earl. As male line grandchildren of the Queen, both are entitled to be HRH Prince and Princess. However, their parents decided that they should not use these titles. Next, we move to Anne, Princess Royal, who is number 16. Because they are female line grandchildren, Anne's children are not a prince and princess. And because Anne and her husband declined a peerage title, they are not lord or lady either. Peter Phillips is 17th in line, and his daughters Savannah and Isla are 18th and 19th. Zara Tyndall is 20th, and her children, Mia, Lena, and Lucas, are 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. This completes the succession order for the Queen's descendants. But let's look even further down the line and meet a few more members of the extended royal family. Next, we go up a generation to Princess Margaret's children. Her eldest son, David Armstrong Jones, is 24th in line. He inherited the title Earl of Snowdon from his father. He is not a prince. His children, Lord Charles and Lady Margarita, are 25th and 26th. Margaret's daughter, Sarah Chatto, and her sons, Samuel and Arthur, are 27th, 28th, and 29th. None of them have titles. Now we move up again to the descendants of King George V. When his eldest son, King Edward VIII, abdicated the throne in 1936 in order to marry American divorcee Wallis Simpson, he renounced not only his claim to the throne, but that of his descendants. He never had any children anyway. Second son, George VI, was the father of Queen Elizabeth. Next is Mary, Princess Royal, but her descendants are in the back of the line behind her younger brothers. Prince Henry was created Duke of Gloucester. He died in 1974, and his eldest son, Prince William, died in a plane crash 2 years earlier. He had no children. Henry's second son, Prince Richard, is alive. He is 30th in the succession and inherited his father's title, Duke of Gloucester. His son, Alexander Windsor, is 31st and holds the subsidiary title, Earl of Ulster. He and his son, Zan, Lord Culloden, will in turn inherit the title Duke of Gloucester, but will not be princes. Daughter Lady Cosmia is 33rd. Lady Davinia is 34th, and her daughter Senna and son Tane are 35th and 36th. They are the most senior people in the succession who are of Asian descent. Their father, Larry Lewis, is Maori. Lady Rose Gilman is 37th, and her children, Lila and Rufus, are 38th and 39th. Next, the descendants of Prince George, Duke of Kent. He died in a plane crash during World War II. His 3 children are princes and a princess. His son, Edward, inherited the title Duke of Kent at 7. His son, George Windsor, Earl of St. Andrews, married a Catholic, Silvana Tomosili, and was removed from the line of succession. But when the rule was changed for his cousin, Peter Phillips, George was reinstated and is currently number 41. His 2 eldest children, Lord Edward and Lady Marina, have converted to Catholicism, so they have been removed from the succession. Youngest, Lady Amelia, is still Anglican and is 42nd in line. Prince Edward's youngest son, Lord Nicholas, has also converted to Catholicism and was removed from the succession. His sons, Albert, Leopold, and Louis, were all baptized Catholic and are also not in the succession. Lady Helen Taylor is 43rd, and her 4 children, Columbus, Cassius, Eloise, and Estella, are 44th, 45th, 46th, and 47th. Prince George's younger son, Prince Michael of Kent, is an HRH but has no peerage. He is 48th in line. His son, Lord Frederick, is married to actress Sophie Winkleman. He and his daughters, Maud and Isabella, are 49th, 50th, and 51st. His sister, Lady Gabriella Kingston, is 52nd. Prince George's daughter, Princess Alexandra, is also Lady Ogilvy because her husband was the second son of an earl. Son James Ogilvy and grandchildren Flora Vesterberg and Alexander Ogilvy are 54th, 56th, and 55th. Daughter Marina and grandchildren Zinuska and Christian Mowat are 57th, 59th, and 58th. George V's youngest son, Prince John, died at 13. His daughter, Mary Princess Royal, Countess of Harwood, has grandchildren and great-grandchildren who are also in the succession, beginning in 60th place. But I think that's far enough to go down the line for now. However, there is one more fascinating branch of the British royal family that we should look at. King George V had a younger sister, Maud, whose husband became King Haakon VII of Norway. Her grandson is the current King of Norway, Harald V. He is 85th in line to the British throne. His son and heir, Crown Prince Haakon, is 86th. He has 2 children, Princess Ingrid and Prince Sverre. Because Norway moved to absolute primogeniture in 1990 before either child was born, Ingrid is ahead of her brother and will likely someday be Queen of Norway. However, as the UK only adopted absolute primogeniture in 2013, Sverre is ahead of his older sister in the British line of succession. A lot of Windsors would have to die or abdicate before the Norwegian royal family moved into Buckingham Palace. Using the rules of primogeniture, the succession can be traced very far out indeed. Some may believe that anyone with English heritage is somewhere in line to the throne, and many people have a royal or two in their family tree, including yours truly. I'm a descendant of 14th century King Edward III. However, according to the 1701 Act of Settlement, only those who are descendants of Sophie of Hanover are included in the line of succession. That is still quite a lot of people. In 2011, genealogist William Reitweisner compiled a list of 5,753 people in the British line of succession. You may be in line for the throne and not even know it. So, even if every single member of the Windsor family tragically died or decided they didn't want to put up with the pressures of being rich and famous, there could always be someone found to keep the throne warm. Want even more tea on history? Check out the History Tea Time podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. A special thank you goes to my patrons, Nancy Carr, Ken Null, Stephanie Aherns, and Drake Ralph Moore. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and check out my other royal history videos. If you really want to help, please consider supporting me on Patreon. A link is in the description. Thank you for watching.